Hey there, I'm Jill Allen, and this is Find Your Fierce, the show designed to help you discover your inner strength and unlock an unstoppable mindset that will completely transform how you show up every day. Each week, I will share methods and strategies to inspire you to step into your greatness and live life with purpose. Join me on this journey to becoming fit, fierce, and unstoppable. Hey there, welcome to episode 194 of Find Your Fierce, the place where we help each other become the best version of ourselves. And I know it's been a while. It's been a long time since our last episode. I think between 3 and 4 baseball games a week, 4 track meets each week as well for probably the past month. I know we're getting ready for prom and graduation and all the things that come at the end of the school year. But just know that the break was not planned because, I think about it, that stuff is all the norm. We're used to full days. We're used to the chaos and we love every second of it. But in fact, it was caused by a mess that I actually created. It was a big hot mess. And I know last month we went to Patagonia with such an amazing group. Love the people that we were with. If you have been following along with any of our adventures, you'll know, you could tell that it was a trip of a lifetime. We took 3 planes, I think it's like 28 hours. And then we drove another 5 to 6 hours to get to Torres del Paine, which is in Chile, the #1 national park in the world. And so that was pretty cool. Also, we could hike the W Trek, which is 38 miles in 3 days. And guys, it was so much fun. We spent about 9 months planning and training for the adventure. The national park was absolutely gorgeous. It was incredible, had breathtaking views. The watercolors were stunning. The glaciers, the mountains. The trails were, oh gosh, the best of the best. And we could even add in like 35 to 45 mile per hour winds. We're not talking gusts of wind. It was constant wind at that level. We had rain, we had sleet, we had abnormally cooler temps, which made it definitely a challenge. But I tell you what, it was a challenge that I would happily take up again to see all that God created. It was such a blessing and it was truly mind-blowing. I kind of think about, it's actually been hard to kind of get back into the routine of things, because you're out in the middle of nowhere and then you get plunked back into life. It was pretty good. But I tell you, we stayed in some incredible domes. They were eco-friendly domes. And when the clouds finally cleared, guys, the stars were out of this world. It seemed like fake. It really did. And I could say it was truly one of the best trips of all time. Again, the people that we were with, to put a group together, to all come together and leave as friends is actually truly the best part. Of course, exploring beautiful, destinations and the experience of so many new things. And I got to tell you, no adventure is complete without a few mishaps along the way. Rob almost burned down our dome. This was his first trip that I actually included him on when it comes to the retreats and adventures. Oftentimes it's just women retreats, but this time we opened it up to guys too, and we invited Rob. And when he almost burned the dome down, I told him he was not invited anymore because this dome incident could have been catastrophic. He placed his wet gloves on the wood burner, thinking it would just be enough to, dry up any of the dampness, because we were getting poured on. We were soaking wet a lot of the time. And so he thought, well, I'm just going to set it here just for a couple minutes and get that, dampness out of his gloves. But guys, he forgot them. And we went to breakfast to return to a dome that was filled, and I'm talking like filled, guys, with smoke. I think I'm still coughing up a lung. That stuff is real. But the gloves, guys, they were like a molten lava pile. Just this big, like, chunk of goo on top of the burner. And they were all gone. It was gone. And all I can do at that point was to shake the heads and thank God for his protection. As he knows better than to do that. We all do. But that kind of stuff happens and we forgot. And all we can say is that we are so super thankful to that. And I mean, that's just one of the stories. But to add to the fun, we of course, always had falls. I mean, people fall on the trails, but we all know that that's part of the hiking experience. I mean, no matter how good of a hiker you are, we take tumbles and we fall. And so we get beat up, and it's just kind of all part of the adventure. But I have to tell you about the one hot mess that happened. And I cannot believe I did this. And here I am picking on Rob about burning down the dome. But this may have been the icing on the cake. You know how sometimes you see people at the airport and you wonder how they function? Well, I'm officially that person. I mean, for a moment, I was not sure how I could ever lead people on adventures, or how I could ever plan excursions, or how I could even plan vacations and getaways for others. I mean, I think about how we could even keep track of our kids. And I've been known to lose or to forget a kid a time or two. School pickup, like the time just gets away from you and you forget them. And here's the thing. I actually left my Lulu backpack on the plane under the seat in Santiago, which, guys, it might not seem like a big deal, but it had my MacBook Pro in it. It had my purse, it had my license, it had credit cards. I had $43 in cash. I had my good sunglasses. I had a bunch of chargers, rechargeable, phone batteries, all the things. But the thing that broke my heart the most, besides having it in me to leave my bag and actually depart the plane clueless, was a journal that I had since 2017 with every single adventure with our kids in it. It kicked off our love of travel with the kids, stories that were near and dear to, both my husband and I's heart. Just that journal that meant everything. All the travel that we did with them, all of it was gone. And I lost my bag. And it was heartbreaking. I mean, it really was. It is kind of to still think about it. But I do want to pause here for a moment, because before we dive into that a bit more, I wanted to update you on Hike, Live, Explore, lost bags and all. I am excited to share with you that not only do I host 3 to 4 retreats a year, adventures and mission trips, I also love creating, planning, and booking private retreats, corporate adventures for your friends and family, your work team, and even your family vacations. So if you're up for an adventure and want to plan something special, drop me a message at jill@jillallencoaching.com. Let's make your trip unforgettable. And trust me, I promise I will not be the one handling your luggage. Okay, so are you ready? I know I am. So let's pick up where we left off. Okay, so I did want to remind you today that God can use anyone, including you. I mean, he can use you to display his power, prove his majesty, and to fulfill his divine plan. And so no matter what your past failures or current struggles are, know that they can be turned into tools for great works in the hands of God. And so I don't want you to ever think that you're not good enough or that you don't have what it takes. In fact, your limitations, the insecurities, and all the fears, it can all be used to bring about something amazing. So let's remember today, in the midst of our toughest challenges is where God actually often does his best work. And so if you're feeling overwhelmed or, you're in an impossible situation, I don't want you to give up hope. This is where you'll see God's power at work in your life. And when you come out on the other side, the best part is that you'll know it was all thanks to him. And it's just so, so good. So I want you to stay with me, because this all goes along with the lost bag that was left behind in Santiago. And so, if you're anything like me, maybe you've thought that maybe the tough times that you've been through, that it might actually be preparing you for something extraordinary. Guys, it's possible that everything you've gone through has a purpose and is a part of God's plan for your life, that your life has been primed for his work. And I truly believe God wants to use you and your unique experiences and all the hot messes to fulfill a destiny that only you can accomplish. Your future is filled with hope, and you have an amazing story to share with the world. And the best part is that God can use anyone, even those who have made mistakes in the past or have dropped the ball or have lost their luggage. Guys, let's go back to the word here. Just look at Saul, who was once a violent enemy of Christians, but was transformed by God and became one of the most important figures in the early church. And he wrote most of the New Testament. And so I don't want you to let your past hold you back or make you feel disqualified from God's plan in your life. He loves you just how you are, and he can use you in amazing ways. Have you ever thought about the fact that Moses who had a speech impediment and struggled with stuttering, was chosen by God to lead an entire nation out of captivity. Let my people go, right? I mean, it's so amazing. And despite his handicap, I mean, for a lack of a better word, I mean, and the insecurity that he had, God used him to perform incredible feats like, well, parting the Red Sea, saving thousands of people. The lesson here is that our doubts and our insecurities don't disqualify us from experiencing God's mighty power working in and through us. And let's not forget about the lineage of God's son, Jesus, and the incredible women he chose. Guys, they were vital to the generations that passed down their blood, their customs, and the children to become this earthly heritage of the Almighty. So no matter what you're struggling with, remember that God can use anyone to fulfill his divine plan. I just want you guys to keep your heart open and know that you might be surprised at the amazing things that he can do through you. In Matthew, you guys can check it out, 1 verses 1 through 16. It actually might seem like a kind of a dull read, but if you examine the names, guys, it's like a soap opera. I mean, why did God choose those he did out of all the women in the world at that time? Why did he work through those situations? Why did he choose that way when God could have picked anyone and done anything? Maybe it's to remind us that even 2,000 years later that he can use anyone and that he has chosen you. And we know that God chose Mary. I mean, she was young, she was unmarried. You know, her unexpected pregnancy would bring her shame and condemnation. So why wouldn't God have selected an experienced, 30-year-old mother, someone whose pregnancy wouldn't have led to criticism? Why couldn't he have at least waited until Mary's wedding day? Guys, he could have, but he didn't. Maybe this story reminds us today that God can work through any shame. He can work through any criticism, any unfortunate situation, or untimely circumstances. What if God is working in your life this way right now? And I don't mean a virgin birth, but maybe you're dealing with an untimely inconvenience at the moment. Something you can't believe is happening right now. And in your mind, it could have been timed much better. But the fact that it's happening now has you feeling stressed out and overwhelmed. Guys, take this time, this moment right here today, that God's timing is perfect and that he knows exactly what he's doing. Let him use you in this time. Let's go back a few generations, and what you'll find are a whole lot of messed up women with guilt and shame and shortcomings and past mistakes, yet their names are in scripture forever because they were the ones that God chose. What about Bathsheba? She was this beautiful and married woman that caught the attention of King David, who found her irresistible. And she made the mistake and slept with the king, which resulted in two things. Firstly, her husband was killed, and secondly, she became pregnant with the king's baby. Talk about a hot mess. But God is saying, let me use this. And you know how God used it? He used it to bring about more bad. I mean, the baby became sick, died, but then God was not done yet. Bathsheba and David went on to have another son named Solomon, and then 26 generations after Solomon came Jesus. This is what God accomplished. So what is God trying to say to you now? Your mistake has not disqualified you from this grand plan for you. He can even use your mistakes to bring about his purpose. Rahab, the prostitute, also part of the lineage of Jesus. A woman whose very profession was sinful, and yet she was hand-selected by God to be a part of the family of Jesus. Why? So that today that we could see that who you were does not stop how God will use us now. God used Ruth. She was a young woman, right? Lost her husband to bring Jesus into this world. This serves as another reminder that God can use our pain and hardships to bring about good things in our lives. So what have you lost? What is your lost bag? No matter what you have lost or what you have done in the past, God can still use you for good. Your past experiences cannot and will not limit what God can do in your life. Just like Jesus. I mean, God, he fed 5,000 people with 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish and instructed them to gather the leftover pieces. God is gathering the pieces of your life right now that were left over from the bad decisions, the hardships, the struggles. He doesn't want to waste any of it because he can use it to make something good in your life. God's plan is to use you and everything you've been through to create something beautiful. And if you haven't picked up on it yet, God has a way of working in mysterious ways. Just like all the women he chose to bring us the one who would save us, the prostitute, the adulteress, the widow, and the girl in the shameful situation, guys, these were the people God chose to work through, the hot messes. And now God chooses you. He chooses all of your imperfections, your past mistakes, your insecurities, your problems, and your lost bags. All you have to do is say, yes, God, here I am, work in me, and let him do his best in your mess. So what happened to the bag? I know you guys are probably all dying here to figure out what happened. Guys, it was the hot mess I was in and where it all started, where God did his work. The airplane closed for the night. The cleaning crew wouldn't be in until the next morning. We could not get back into the plane. Our delayed flight would take off at 10:30 the next day. And I received an email around 6 a.m. saying that they found my bag and for me to come and pick it up. Guys, I was ecstatic. I was just over the moon. I was so fired up because I'm like, okay, this is perfect. But I soon found out that I was not the only person that was a hot mess. As guys, I got to tell you, there were rooms and rooms filled with lost luggage. And to make it even more of a hot mess, the bag they had found was not even mine. My bag was still lost. And I actually had to board my flight back to the States without it. And the crazy thing is, I still had my passport. Don't ask me why. I did not put it in my bag after boarding that first flight. Guys, I held it in my hands for the entire 3-hour flight. So at least I still had that, right? I mean, I was able to get back home. But all I can think about, it was just part of God's plan. And so while we were flying back to Atlanta, I checked the Find My device, and it showed that my bag, that my computer was still in Terminal 1 in Santiago. And I was like, okay, good. It's still there. You know, I knew it was there. It could be found. It could be sent back. I mean, I would do anything. I'd pay for shipping, all the things. I just knew that it wasn't necessarily stolen. It was just the fact that I was a hot mess and left it on a plane. So for 23 days, I went back and forth with the airline staff who kept telling me that my bag was not there. I sent them images showing that it was in Terminal 1. Guys, there's no, like, this feeling that where I could see my computer on the Find My Device app, which is crazy to think that Apple has all that. And I could just see it just sitting there. And I was trying to send them photos to show them that it was indeed there. But they kept telling me that their computer system was showing that they had found my bag and that I had picked it up, okay? And because that was the first initial email that was sent. So there was a lot of confusion and obviously the language barrier. And how many times did I have to tell them that I was the hot mess that left the bag and that I was asking them to go help me find it? And so it was tough. So I think I filed 5 claims for my lost bag, but nothing worked. And all I could do was I decided to try one more time to explain the situation because I just knew that I was going to get that bag back. And so on a Thursday night, I filed one last ditch effort. 3 days later, on Sunday night, I received an email from Augustin de Jesus. Okay. Now, all I could see in my email was Jesus. And my heart just kind of fluttered. And I opened it up and they said that they had my bag, or they had a bag that matched my description. And all they needed me to do was verify it before they put it on a plane back to Columbus. And so Augustin de Jesus, and I've been calling him Augustin de Jesus, he found it. He put it on a plane and the bag was coming back to Ohio. And when it was coming across the luggage belt, I tell you what, the feeling that I had in my heart, I couldn't be happier. And I know some of you are saying it was just a bag of things, and it was. But the journal, I knew that I was going to just miss that. I mean, that was something that I could never get back. And I was just praying that it was all in there. And so I couldn't wait to see what was in the bag. And so I opened it up, my computer, my sunglasses, the purse, the ID, and the journal were all there, which I could never have replaced. Now, someone did take the $43 cash and the 5 candy bars that I had for my kids from Chile, but everything else was there. It was a hot mess of a story, but for some reason, I knew that I would get the bag back and that everything would be okay. I knew that God would use it and turn it into something good. And I think about how this podcast would not have been created if I hadn't lost my bag. To share the story, to show you that God can use all the hot messes in our lives for good, that he can choose us to impact lives and to make a difference in the world, even in the midst of our struggles. God is just so good. He's that good. And so are you. And I don't ever want you to doubt that while navigating the hot mess in your life, that God is right there with you every step of the way. I hope this fired you up. But before we wrap things up, I've got to say, if you haven't already, check out my book, Set Free and Set Fire. They're perfect for solo reading or book clubs, and they are available on Amazon. And if you're looking for some help and ideas, I'm excited to create and plan a private retreat or your next getaway for your friends, family, and work team. So let's connect. If you're up for an adventure and want to plan something special, message me at jill@jillallencoaching.com. Make sure to tune in next time as we add some serious fire to your day. More mindset work is coming your way. Be sure to subscribe to the show so you get a notification of when the newest episode drops. Thanks so much for being here today. I truly hope that we were able to fill your heart with joy. Before you go, I'd love it if you could let us know what you thought of the episode. Share the episode link on your social media if you found it inspiring, and don't forget to leave a review. It helps spread the message. And I know we all know someone who could use extra encouragement, so let's spread the love. Until next time, remember, be fit, be fierce, be unstoppable. See ya.